Hi everyone, welcome to this live drafting tutorial of a bodice of a 1940s dress. My name is Charlotta and this is the School of Pattern Cutting, where you will learn how to draft just about anything. I'm originally a fashion designer and pattern cutter, but I absolutely love helping people to learn to draft their own clothes and seeing their wardrobe dreams come true. So tonight I'm going to show you in 10 minutes how to draft a 1940s dress. I'm going to concentrate on the bodice, but I'm also going to give you a few tips on how to do the sleeves and the skirt and put it all together. I'm going to look at the dress first and quickly sketch it out and then show you how to draft it from your bodice block. I'm using my own block. If you have, and a block is fantastic. I'm working on the half scale, so this is half my body size and width. You having your own block is super helpful because it will fit you, so you don't have to do lots of fitting issues. But if you haven't got a block yet, and it is a bit of a time investment, if you got a sewing pattern with similar darts, just basic darts, that can be anywhere, which fits you well, you can use that. Just make sure you get rid of your seam allowance and you extend your waist dart and your bust dart to your bust point, because on sewing patterns we always move it away. I'm going to say hello to everybody, and then I'm going to show you how to draft this 1940s dress. And I can see Amin and Sharon are here. Hello, you two. Lovely to see you. And there's quite a few people watching, so I'm going to wait a few more minutes and see who else joins, and then I'm going to show you how to draft it. We're going to close down some other tabs as well, so it doesn't interfere. I hope you're all doing well. It's very nice for you to join me. I'm hoping to do this once a month on the same Saturday, so we always you have a schedule, because I know a lot of you are really busy, and it's nice to actually know what you're doing for the whole month. Also, how are you all getting on with the trouser course? I hope that's going well. I'm really looking forward to chatting to you in December about it. How are you getting on, and any questions you have? Have you all started with it? So look who's joining us. So I'm just quickly checking something out, and then I will start with the analysis. So, oh, Alison has joined. Oh, I love it, because I don't think I've seen you once on a Zoom line, Alison. So yeah, thank you for joining me. And COVID isolation, not that great. But I'm glad you're making it. And oh, hi, Janet. I'm glad we both got our timings right this time. Oh, and hello, Lysandra. Lovely to have you here. And hello, Deborah. Thank you. Is it your first time joining us? Welcome. And Sharon is saying she hasn't finished her, she hasn't started on the trouser course yet, because she's finally finishing her moulage. That'd be lovely to have one, Sharon, finally something which fits you perfectly. And hello, Shisom, or Linda. Lovely to have you too on here. So I can see, I think it might be all of you. I know some. Oh, Deborah is your first time. Is it your first time, Linda, as well? And I mean, and Alison second time. But I sort of know you off Instagram quite a lot, so it's different. But so lovely to have you all, and thank you for joining. Let's have a look at this 1940s dress. And what I will do, this is always a challenge to the brain. I will show you in a second properly, but we're going to draft this dress. And what I do is afterwards, we can have a bit of a chat and any questions you have. But what I do is, for the recording, I will chop it off after a while, because so people don't have to watch half an hour. Oh, and Linda, it's your first time as well. Hello, back to Nigeria. Lovely to have you on here. So I'm gonna put the table view on. This way. So let's have a look at this dress. I'm actually gonna go full table view because you don't need to see my face when I'm doing. Okay, let's have a look at this. So draw the dress quickly first. I just realized I'm completely out of I need to buy another sketchbook. I go through so many sketchbooks. There you go. So you can see my to-do list for November, which isn't that long. So let's have a look at this dress, which was actually a suggestion from one of you on YouTube. So if you ever see anything, please do always share it with me. So let's quickly have a look at it. It's a what we would sort of call a tea dress, sort of an afternoon dress, day dress. So something very quickly, very easy to make, easy to wear, but with some nice pretty details. It's nice, it's got 3 different colors, but we're going to concentrate on the bodice. So the bodice is quite fitted. So you would use your normal bodice block. If you have like Sharon has a moulage, you want a bit more ease on this style. This is not skin tight. It is like a basic bodice block, so a bit of ease. And I can just see Nicola's joined it, and Nicola suggested this one, so I hope you like it. So we've got a V-neck on these, and all the styles have a V-neck, but it's got a center front seam. I think it's to do with not wanting to waste too much fabric. But they've put buttons on as well, which are little sort of loop buttons, because you can see the buttons go straight down the center front, not to the side. So you can have a center front seam, or you can actually have it plain. It's up to you. And then your first decision, which is about the silhouette, is we've got pin tucks at the top, and then we've got gathers at the waist, which is using your bust stud and your waist stud doing with that. And in theory, you can use just the 2 of it, but that would be quite fitted. And there's quite a few pleats, so you might want to add a bit of ease, and I'm going to show you how to do it in tutorial. But you can see they've converted the 3. This is the converted bust stud into 3 little pleats, and then all the waist stud plus probably a little bit extra has been converted into volume to this little sort of triangle panel. And what's quite nice is they've got 2 versions. Where you either have a belt on top, so it looks more like separates, or you have it sort of this front panel on top, so it sort of really elongates your body. And you can see it looks like it's hand stitched, but of course you can do it. But what you can do, I'm going to concentrate on this up here. But of course, what you can, if you've got a skirt block, you can use that to create the panels, or you can use my 6-panel tutorial and just make it quite flared, because that's all it is. It's sort of it's just an A-line flared skirt. But all they've done is, so your normal 6-panel A-line skirt stops properly around, this is probably our natural waist. So they've just taken off probably 2 centimeters from the bodice and 2 centimeters of the skirt to make a waistband. And the waistband, you can probably, if it sits straight on your waist, you can probably get away with it being just a straight band, but it depends on your figure. Sometimes it's better to still have it shaped slightly. And then all they've done is they just cut out the middle panel and they extended it up. So they used part of the bodice block and then the skirt, and we just glued it together. So as long as you stay in between your darts there, you can just literally extend it up. Or of course the other thing is, if you've got one, sorry, I'm going through all my blocks. If you've got one, use your dress block for this, because then you can just draw on your whole design. But if you haven't invested in blocks yet, you can just use a sewing pattern, and then you can use my 6-panel skirt and put them all together. Just make sure that the waist bit is the same. And then for the sleeves, you can see it's what you sort of call a typical, you might actually call this a lack of mutton or puffed sleeve. And what it actually is they've just added a little tuck here, which I think has got some buttons even. So you would just draft a normal, puffed sleeve, but then you just put a tuck in here at the bottom. So this all gets gathered up into your shoulder, and then here is just a little tuck. So this is it's like a little pleat inside, which gives you shaping. So it's a really nice way of creating it. And I've got a second version where it's the same. It's just got less gathers at the top, but it's got the same detail at the bottom. It's a 3/4 detail, so it gives you the pleat just where the elbow is. So it's a really nice look. And then the final one, you can see a tiny drawing here. It's got a gathered and flared sleeve, so you've got lots of options. The one I'm going to show you is this one, but of course you can pick and mix them all together. And the same for the bodice. This, I think they probably all have a facing like this, and then they just added different colors on, so whether that's a contrast. So for this one, I would probably use a 1-piece fold over collar and just extend it down into the V-neck. But of course you could also do with a shawl collar or anything you want to do. Peter Pan collar as well, if you'd like that. Now we know how it looks, we can draft it. And hello Astrid, lovely to have you in here. So let's get it here. So I've forgotten to draw in my starts. So what I will actually do in a second, because I'm doing lots of work around this area, the first thing I'm actually going to do is move my base dart to the side as well. And your darts might be somewhere else. They might be in the shoulder, they might be at this point, but wherever they are, whether you're using your own block or sewing pattern, just move everything to the side. And Esther just has that the second one looks like the waistband goes all the way around. Yeah, so it's what's nice about these patterns, that they give you lots of options. So I would construct it the same, but then you can just sort of chop it up differently. And I think this looks more like you're wearing a blouse and a skirt, but it's probably a dress. But this is definitely a dress. So it's sort of different silhouettes and proportion. It makes you look quite different, but it's the same style. In either one, you can actually, if you look at this one first, you can literally see how you're just going to chop our triangle out of the bodice, and then we've got a separate waistband. And if you want to make this one, all you do is you extend your triangle down into the skirt. So I think it's exactly, we're quite clever. It's exactly the same construction, but you get something which is quite a elongating dress, and then you get a dress which looks like separates. So you get lots of choice from the same pattern. And the first thing we are actually going to do is draw in our V-neck, which of course you don't have to have a V-neck. You can do whatever neck you want, and it's that 40s sort of style where it's quite close to the neckline. So I'm actually and then it spreads our bust point, so it's probably halfway between there. But of course, something like that is up to you. But you sort of, it's not a deep V-neck. You can see, you know, it's above the main bust. And then we're also going to draw in our triangles. So as I said, I would actually take the waistband partly off my bodice block. So when you're drafting it, this waistband, you would take it off, but of course you don't have to do it. You can do it how you want it. And then this, in general, it's always thirds, but this actually looks like it's a little bit wider. Let's have a look if we divided it by 3. So if I divide it by 3, that's where my triangle starts. It's just actually about right. And you don't want it too wide. If you make it too wide, it sort of distorts because it starts moving onto your body. So I'm actually going to go with thirds. And then you can see I've got a 90-degree angle there. And that sort of then defines. You can see it actually gets quite high on mine. But if you look at it, bust point is here. So it actually looks like it might sort of be slightly lower. But it's sort of where you can decide whether you actually then put the waistband on underneath. If I started from my original waist, you can see that looks more like it. Do you agree? So that's more the proportions you want. So it might be that actually your natural waist is here on top of the waistband, and then you just add the waistband underneath. So but of course that's how your body shape is, how you want it, how long your waist is. So I'm gonna go this one underneath. So I'm doing a different color. So this is our separate panel here, which will either be on this style, it's a little triangle. So, and what you could actually do is that you could have this belt as a separate, which I think what Astrid actually means. But I think that belt is part of it. So it's not a separate belt, it's just a panel. Because without that belt there, it's not a very flattering. Basically, if you didn't have a belt there, it sort of look a bit unfinished. You didn't have that belt panel there, because it's sort of just meat. So it's sort of with a dress like that, it's nicer to have that panel style to disrupt the top and the back, and also means you can sort of interfuse that, and when you hide all your seams in it, so it sort of actually stabilizes your dress, because otherwise you've got a single seam going there and it might drag, while the sort of having a belt panel will stabilize it. So you would add a belt panel underneath, and then you have your 6-panel skirt or your separate panel below. So now we've drawn in our triangle panel, we can put in our new style lines, and we're gonna divert part of it into 3 even little tucks, but you can see I think it's divided by 3 again. So I think the 3 tucks actually take up the middle third of my shoulder and proportionalize. So my shoulder is 6. So, and hello, the Mode Praktik, lovely to have you in here. So you can see this is a third, so that portion is similar, and then this third I'm just going to divide into 3 again for my 3 tucks, and you can see the tucks come halfway down my v-neck roughly. So if I actually on my v-neck, And this is sort of what I'm doing at the moment, is sort of when you want to have a exact copy or something which looks very similar. But of course, you might say, oh, you know, I'm not a fan of 1940 style, but I like this tuck detail. So I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do 5. I'm only going to do 1, and I'm going to bring it lower down. But this is going to be our pleats or tucks. And if you want some insane amount of tacking, you can try out the Georgia O'Keeffe flounce for my Patreon, which I know Astrid loves, which has about 100 tucks on the front alone. So it'd be less than patient, but this is much easier. And these I'm calling them tucks. What they are is they're little pleats. So the opposite of tucks. They're sort of tucks, but you can have tucks on top, which is a really beautiful detail, top stitched, or you can have sort of little pleated tucks underneath. Oh, and hello, Amaris. I'm welcome, and thank you for joining me. And I'm glad you're enjoying it. And then the other half of the volume, we're actually gonna divert down here. And as I said when I was looking at it first, what we might find out, I think, with all these sort of lines, volume lines, I think there's a little bit of extra added volume, but quite subtle, because if you add too much, it depends how much ease your bodice block has, because it might be enough. So what I will actually do is I would make a half trowel with just this volume diverted into gathers at the waist and pleats at the shoulder, and see how it fits you. And then if it doesn't look high impact enough, then you can add a little bit more volume. But what you don't want to do is add too much volume, and then it will look too, like you too much volume. It will look a bit unflattering, because it can just really billow out and lose its shape, and which I think this style isn't what it's all about. So for this one, we're just going to convert it into volume. So you can either draw lots of lines, or what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a few, one at each end and one in the middle. And you can see it doesn't go all the way down. Again, I think this time it's probably quarter. So I think half of it is gathered, and then so 1/2 of this whole length is gathered, and then the edges aren't gathered. So I'm going to just cut 3 lines again. So there are quite a few cutting lines, but not too many. So now we've center front on. And what I will actually do at this point is draw in my facing. So that's the sort of thing we normally do at the end. But actually, if you made this, what you do is this is your master copy again. Like we talked about it before, about this would say your master copy. And then you just put another piece of paper out, and then you open up all your gathers and pin tucks on that. But I'm not having a master copy, and what I would then do is draw in your facing now and trace that through, and before you cut everything apart, and it might not be as clear. So your facing is literally something like this at the top front, especially if you're having a button stand. But then you can hide all the seams into that lovely triangle. So let's cut it apart. And I can see that George O'Keeffe is still on Astrid's making list. It's on my making list, but my making list is very unrealistic because it's so big at the moment. And you should all have a look at Alison's Instagram account. Is it public, your Instagram, Alison? Because she's actually making something from Patreon. She always is much faster. She's making the Dior skirt, which we all loved with all the volume. So okay, let's cut them all open. And I'm leaving everything attached for now at the bust point so it doesn't fall apart. But what you can do if you're doing this is that you actually write the numbers on. So you don't get confused. And Alison says her Instagram isn't public. Sorry, Alison. Yes, if you make it, I would love to share it because it's such a beautiful skirt and you've chosen a really nice fabric. Yes, and Astrid, I'm really impressed what she's making as well. It's such a beautiful make, and it's sort of, it could be really wearable. If you haven't seen it, if you have a look, I posted on Instagram recently. It's a really nice sort of current deal skirt, but so worth making. And I'm glad I'm not the only one with a really big making list. The Mode Praktik. So let's have a look. So I'm going to put it all together. And this is where normally I do my really beautiful relief. My reveal, where I show everything off. So here we go. What we do is I've glued my original dart and then we close it and the magic happens. You can see everything opens up. And you can now see how much volume I've got left. So you can see it actually leaving attached is quite good because you can now really control how much you open it. And of course, what you can do as well is that you move more volume to the bottom or more volume to the top. So in theory, what you could do with this style is that you actually say, oh, I don't like the gathers here. So I'm just going to have 3 bigger pleats. Or you can say, oh, I only want 2 pleats and I want them tiny. So I'm going to make my gathers bigger. But I think on this one, so let me have a look how much if I sort of equally move it across. So here we go. Let me measure it. So actually on here, this would be perfect because each gap would be 1.5 centimeters, which means if I pleat it, I can literally use the edge of my sewing machine foot as the stitching line, and that will give me my pleat width. And at the bottom, I actually haven't got a lot. So this is where I've only got 4 centimeters, so that's not a lot of extra gathers. So you, as I said, I would now try out making the trowel like that, and then if you say, oh, I like the pleats up there, that's perfect, but I want a little bit more gathers, then all what you do is you move it and you just, can you see at the moment it's like this, and if you want more, this is how it's like, and if you want more volume on at the bottom, all you do is you open it up a little bit, so you just leave it the same bit up here, and then you just sort of open it a bit more, so you can see I've got an extra centimeter ease at my bust, but I suddenly got 5 centimeters. So it's sort of you basically you make it looser and looser, but you get more gathers. So it's about, I would make it without any excess to begin with, and then if that's not enough, that's when I would make more. And once you've just moved them around how you want them, all you do is you glue it on another piece of paper or fill it in, and then you add your seam allowance everywhere because this has got center front seam. And then I would make a half trowel just to check the pleats and that angle, for example, and your V-neck. And if you're happy with that, then you can make it. And it's, yeah, it's just got facing at the front, because I think a lot of 1940s makes a really nice. And then, as I said, for the skirt, you can use a 6-panel skirt, just cut off the top for your waistband, which I think this looks pretty straight, like just a straight piece, but of course you can make it slightly curved, depending on how long your waist is, whether it dips in and out straight away. And just make sure that if you draft my 6-panel skirt, that you draft it to the same width as your basic bodice block. And that is your 1940s gathered bodice, all ready for trying. So I hope this all was clear. I don't know if I actually stuck to 10 minutes, but it's I think it's quite a nice quick make, which you can adapt it. And Astrid, a really good question. Can I show you the back? Yeah. Oh, actually, I can show you the back. Can you see a really bad picture? It's really simple. So they have, let me get my block. All they've done is they converted, I think, literally just the dart into gathers, so a bit of looseness. And interestingly, on this one, it looks like it's separate, doesn't it? But that might be just how it's drawn. So if you want to make it separately, of course you can, but I would make it as a dress, because but I guess if you made it as a, I think it is a dress, because if it's this vintage patterns, if it's separate, so it would show, you know how we've looked at it before, and we show you how it's actually tucked in. But if you made it as a top, you would just sort of extend it and then make it go out a little bit so it can be tucked in. And let's quickly talk openings as well. And oh, Alice says this model looks like it should be a tie. Astrid, you're completely right. It'd be really nice. There's lots of these sort of styles. You have at the back, you don't have a waistband, you just have, or you have ties coming out of the side, so it looks like you're tying the dress. That would be quite 1960s, 70s, wasn't it? Late 60s, where we suddenly had that really nice sort of romantic style. But I think especially because on this style, it looks like you have the ties just, what you could do is that you just have the ties attached to that panel, and then they just tie around. And then what you could do is that you make the back big enough that you can just sort of nearly slip in and out, and then just tie it tight. But I think here you can actually see that the skirt is fitted, and you just got the sort of, instead of your dart, you just have the gather. So I think this is a fully fitted dress, because it's 1940s as well. So it would probably have a side opening, this little buttons or button placket quite well hidden, because you wouldn't really have zips. Can't really tell there on the dress, but that's always the sort of thing where you can choose to be as accurate or as personal as you want to. And Alison says, I love the gathers and the diamond panel at the front. Yes, and I think it lengthens it, so it's sort of quite a nice style, because it's sort of, yeah, it sort of really gets you a sort of hourglass figure. And because it's properly Nicola, because you suggested it. Do you know what year it is, Nicola? I think it might, because it's definitely 1940s. It's an afternoon dress. Is it 1947, Nicola? I do wonder whether it's also still rationing, therefore it's quite a subtle dress, like there isn't like a massive flared skirt, and the volume is quite delicate as well. Let's see where Nicola knows. Nicola suggested it, and so anybody else watching, if you ever see anything you like, do just tell me or send me an image on Instagram. And then if it's because these tutorials I sort of quite like doing stuff you can do in 10 minutes, or stuff where you can think, oh, I can sit down and I got a sewing pattern I can adapt, or I can just draft this for my basic blog. And it's quite nice, Astrid. It's sort of a entry to the Georgia O'Keeffe top, almost, yeah, slightly simpler version. And Brigitte says, thank you. You're very welcome. I want to say Brigitte, but you're probably not. And Nicola says it's 1943. So yes, so that would be in the middle of the war. So that's why I think it's properly sort of, oh God, sorry. It's because it was the 2 yards or something. So it's actually sort of quite a understated dress. So nothing is that big, and it's probably quite easy to make. And then just the details make it special. And of course, even just having a middle panel longer rather than having lots of them, that again saves on fabric. I'm glad you agree, Astrid, as well, and that it's like a easy Georgia O'Keeffe. And Georgia O'Keeffe, I think, was 30s, but it's sort of probably women in the war had less time as well. So it's where you have the details, but they make it look special, but they're not as time intensive. And then even if you can see, the shorter sleeve has the bigger puff detail, gathered detail, and then to balance out, the longer sleeve has less. So it's sort of completely different looks, which I quite like. Just sort of, this is much more out and in, while this is more like a blouse and skirt. So I hope this all made sense. I think I'll be back on here in 2 weeks on a Tuesday. I'm trying to sort of move things around so I can meet with different people, but I think it's sort of 8 o'clock at night looks great, and to see lots of you, and also lunchtime, because that seems to be catching quite a few continents. And Nicola says, stunning dress in its simplicity. Yes, I agree. It's sort of a kind of that period, but it's very wearable. And I know lots of us on Patreon love it, where you have things, day wear is often more interesting than evening wear, because it's where it had to be really practical, but you also want it pretty. So it's a perfect balance between something you can make quickly, put on in the morning, and wear all day comfortably. And Tiffany, the Mode Praktik, I'm glad you liked the tutorial. And hello to the Netherlands, and thank you for joining me at 9:30 on a Saturday night. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, Nicola. I'd love to see what you're making with it. So that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And if you're making the trouser vlog, I hope it all makes sense, the big tutorial this week. Let me know if you've got any questions. And if you see anything you'd like drafted, do drop me the easiest way is to drop me a message on Instagram or comment below on YouTube, and then I get in touch with you. But that's it from me for today. And thank you so much for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe or press the little like button so other people get to see this video too. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye.